Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tutoring Pros channel. In today's video we're going to be going over an SAT practice test, and more specifically practice test number 6. We're going to be going over sections 3 and 4. As you know, we're going over the math content of the SAT almost every single day. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Smash a like on the video before we get started. Now we get started on number 1. Salim wants to purchase tickets from a vendor to watch a tennis match. The vendor charges a one-time service fee for processing the purchase of the tickets. The equation T equals 15n plus 12 represents the total amount T in dollars Salim will pay for n tickets. What does 12 represent in the equation? For this question, we need to think about the equation in algebra that you learned, y equals mx plus b. And although they're not using y or x, we can easily substitute the variables. So instead of y, they're using t equals 15. Instead of x, they're using n plus 12. So 12 is in the same spot as b, so we can say b equals 12. So what does b represent exactly? B is our y-intercept, but in the context of a real-world application, I like to think of it as the starting point. So when we look at the answer choices, A, the price of one ticket, no. B, the amount of the service fee in dollars, maybe. The total amount in dollars Salim will pay for one ticket, that's not it either. D, the total amount in dollars Salim will pay for any number of tickets. No, so this is going to be B. This is the price excluding the tickets. So it's the amount you pay before you purchase any tickets, which is the service fee. We'll skip number 2 for now and just go to number 3. What is the sum of the complex numbers 2 plus 3i and 4 plus 8i? The word sum means to add. So all we're going to do is add these two complex numbers. 2x plus 3i plus 4 plus 8i. We're going to combine the like terms. 2 plus 4 is 6. 3i plus 8i is going to be 11i. So the answer here is going to be C. Number 2 says, a gardener buys two kinds of fertilizer. Fertilizer A contains 60% filler material by weight, and fertilizer B contains 40% filler material by weight. Together, the fertilizers bought by the gardener contain a total of 240 pounds of filler material. Which equation models this relationship, where x is the number of pounds of fertilizer A and y is the number of pounds of fertilizer B? So what we need to do in this equation is match up the percentage of filler material for fertilizer A with the variable for fertilizer A. So x represents fertilizer A. 60% as a decimal is going to be 0.6. And since x is the number of pounds of fertilizer A, we're going to be multiplying this by x. 40% filler material, 40% as a decimal is going to be 0.4. And we're going to multiply this by the variable that represents the number of pounds of filler B, which is going to be y. And when we add these two, we should get the total number of pounds of filler material, which is 240. So the answer here is B. Number 4 asks, 4x squared minus 9 equals px plus t times px minus t. In the equation above, p and t are constants. Which of the following could be the value of p? So the most important thing about this equation is this equal sign in the middle. This tells us that the left side and the right side are going to be exactly the same. So on the left we have 4x squared minus 9. And then on the right, when we FOIL, this is going to be p squared x squared. And then minus ptx. Then we're going to do t times px, which is going to be plus ptx. And then minus t squared. We're going to simplify it. 4x squared minus 9 equals, these middle two terms cancel out, negative ptx plus ptx. They cancel each other out. And we're going to get equals p squared x squared minus t squared. So as we can see, the number in front of x squared on the left side is 4. The number in front of x squared on the right side is p squared. So p squared equals 4. And we can take the square root of both sides. This will give us that p equals plus or minus 2. And the only answer choice is going to be A. Number 5. Which of the following is the graph of the equation y equals 2x minus 5 in the xy plane? There's two things that we need to focus on in order to solve this equation. The first one is about our slope. We need to determine, does our slope have a positive value or a negative value? If it has a positive value, then the line will be increasing from left to right. If it has a negative slope, then it will be decreasing from left to right. This equation is of the form y equals mx plus b. So m is going to equal 2. In this case, our slope is positive. So from left to right, we should be increasing. A is a possible answer. B cannot be the answer because as we move to the right, our line is decreasing. So this would have a negative slope. C could be an answer, and D could be an answer. The next thing that you need to figure out is what the y-intercept is. In this case, the y-intercept is our b, and b equals negative 5. So that means that we need to cross the y-axis at negative 5 down here, and it needs to be increasing. So our graph should look something like this. So crossing the y-axis at negative 5 and increasing. If we look at A, it crosses the y-axis at 2.5, so it can't be A. C crosses the y-axis at 5, it cannot be C. D crosses the y-axis at negative 5, and that's the answer. So D is increasing and crosses the y-axis at negative 5. Number 6. If x equals 2 over 3 times y and y equals 18, what is the value of 2x minus 3? So the part of the question that we really need to solve is 2x minus 3. We can substitute x for what x equals. X equals 2 over 3 times y. So instead of x, we're going to plug in what x equals. So it's going to be 2 times 2 over 3 times y minus 3. 2 times 2 over 3 is going to be 4 over 3 times y minus 3. Here they tell us that y equals 18. So we're going to have 4 divided by 3 times 18 minus 3. When we have a fraction times a whole number, we multiply the whole number by the top and divide it by the bottom. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. So this is going to be 24 minus 3, which will be 21. or A. Number 8. The table above shows some values of the functions w and t, for which value of x is wx plus t of x equal to x. So what we need to do is add the second column to the third column and see if it equals whatever's in the first column. For example, when we add -3 to -1, that gives us -4, and -4 is not equal to 1, so 1 is not the answer. 2, when we add 3 minus 1, that's going to give us 2, and as we can see, this is the same, so this could be the answer, but we're going to keep on going. 3, if we add 4 plus 1, that's going to be 5, and 5 is not the same as 3. And then D is 4, so if we add wx and t of x for 4, x equals 4, 3 plus 3 is going to be 6, and that is not 4, so it is not that one either, and it will be x equals 2. Number 7. A bricklayer uses the formula n equals 7 times L times h to estimate the number of bricks n needed to build a wall that is L feet long and h feet high. Which of the following correctly expresses L in terms of n and h? The easiest way to solve this question is by first looking at the answer choices. If we look at all of the answer choices, we can see that they're of the form L equals. So we're trying to get L by itself. We're going to start off with the equation that they give us in the question. N equals 7 times L times h. And in order to get L by itself, we need to divide both sides by 7 times h. On the left side, we're just going to have n over 7 times h. And on the right side, the 7's cancel, the h's cancel, and we're left with just L. So we'll get that L equals n over 7 times h, which will be answer choice C. Number 9. If square root of x plus square root of 9 equals square root of 64, what is the value of x? To solve number 9, we first need to evaluate the square roots that we can evaluate or simplify. So first, square root of x, we can't do anything about that yet. Square root of 9, we know that that's 3. And then equals the square root of 64, which is 8. To get x by itself, we first need to subtract 3 on both sides. So we'll get square root of x equals 8 minus 3, which is 5. And then to get x by itself, we need to square both sides. The square root of x squared is just x. The square root and the squared cancel each other out. And this is going to be equal to 5 squared, which is 5 times 5, and that's 25. So x equals 25, and is also C. Alright, number 10. Jamie is preparing for a bicycle race. His goal is to bicycle an average of at least 280 miles per week for 4 weeks. He bicycled 240 miles the first week, 310 miles the second week, 320 miles the third week. Which inequality can be used to represent the number of miles x Jamie could bicycle on the 4th week to meet his goal? First, what we're going to do here is set up the inequality that the question is representing, and then try to manipulate it to see which answer choice matches it. So in order to have an average of at least 280, we would need to add up the 4 weeks and then divide by 4. So on week 1, he ran 240. On week 2, he ran 310. On week 3, he ran 320. And then on week 4, he ran x. We're going to divide all of this by 4 because we're finding the average over 4 weeks. And this needs to be at least 280. So this can be greater than or equal to, that's what at least means, greater than or equal to 280. So we need to see which one of these answer choices represents this inequality. So for this first one, they have over 3, and the x is not included there. So it can't be the first one, can't be A. For B, we have x on the right side multiplying by 280, and there's no dividing by 4. So it can't be B. C, we have the first 3 weeks divided by 4, but not the fourth week. All 4 weeks have to be divided by 4. And then for this fourth one, D, all they did was they multiplied the 4 over to the other side, which is the top, greater than or equal to 4 times 280. So this would be D. Number 12 asks, which of the following is equivalent to 4x squared plus 6x over 4x plus 2? Now your first thought might be to factor and try to simplify, but here we have two polynomials being divided together. So what we're going to do is polynomial division. So we're going to write 4x plus 2, and then on the inside of the division, we're going to write the numerator 4x squared plus 6x. What we need to do is match up the first term with the first term. So how do we turn 4x into 4x squared? All we have to do is multiply it by x. 4x times x is 4x squared. 2 times x is 2x. Now we need to subtract these two binomials from each other. 4x squared minus 4x squared is going to be 0. This was our goal. 6x minus 2x is going to be 4x. How do we get from 4x to 4x? We have to multiply by 1. And when we do polynomial division, we separate each term by either a plus or minus. So we're going to multiply 4x plus 2 by 1, which would be 4x plus 2. And we're going to subtract this from 4x. So 4x minus 4x will be 0. And then it's plus 0 minus 2, which would be negative 2. And this would be negative 2 over what we were dividing by, which is 4x plus 2. So the answer here is going to be D. Number 11. The vertex of the parabola in the xy plane above is 0, c. Which of the following is true about the parabola with the equation y equals negative a times x minus b squared plus c? The whole point of this question is to find out what the characteristics of this equation is going to be. So all the answer choices talk about a vertex and which way the graph opens up. Here, the reason why the vertex is 0, c is because there is no b next to x to provide a horizontal shift. And the y value, the vertical shift, is c, which is this plus c. So in the equation that they provide for us, we have x minus b. That's going to give us an x value vertex of just b. And then it has the same vertical shift, which is going to be c. So the vertex will be b, c. And since our a is negative, it's going to be a parabola that opens downward. And if you read all the answer choices, you'll see that this is answer choice B. Number 13 asks, in the equation above, t is a constant. If the equation has no real solutions, which of the following could be the value of t? What we need to think about here is the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. When we're talking about the number of real solutions, the only part that we need to pay attention to is what's inside of the square root, b squared minus 4ac. Now we're going to refer back to our equation, which is 2x squared minus 4x. And we're going to move everything to one side by subtracting t. So this would be minus t equals 0. If we're plugging into this equation, what it means to have no real solutions is for this to be less than 0 or negative. If we have a negative number inside of a square root, that's going to give us an imaginary number or no real solutions. So we're going to plug in here. B is negative 4, so this would be negative 4 squared minus 4 times 2, which is A, times B, which is negative T. And this has to be less than 0. Negative 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Times negative T will be plus 8T. And this needs to be less than 0. To get T by itself, we need to subtract 16 and then divide by 8. So first 8T is going to be less than negative 16. And then when we divide each side by 8, we'll get T needs to be less than negative 2. And if we look at our answer choices, A is the only one that's less than negative 2. So the answer will be negative 3. Number 14. A laundry service is buying detergent and fabric softener from its supplier. The supplier will deliver no more than 300 pounds in a shipment. I'm going to underline this because this is important. Each container of detergent weighs 7.35 pounds and each container of fabric softener weighs 6.2 pounds. The service wants to buy at least twice as many containers of detergent as containers of fabric softener. Let D represent the number of containers of detergent and let S represent the number of containers of fabric softener, and D and S are non-negative integers. Which of the following system of inequalities best represents this situation? So the two underlined portions are the two main parts of this question that we need to pay attention to. The total weight can be no more than 300. So whatever the weight is, it needs to be less than or equal to 300. It can be equal to 300, but it can't be greater than 300. So the weight will be 7.35 times the number of detergents plus 6.2 times the number of fabric softeners. And then this will be the first equation. So A has this equation. B also has this equation. D does C and D both do not have this equation. They have 14.7 D and 6.2 S. The second part that I have underlined is the service wants to buy at least twice as many containers of detergent as containers of fabric softener. So they want at least twice as many detergents as fabric softeners. So 2 times the number of fabric softeners needs to have some correlation to the number of detergents. And they said they want at least twice as many. So the number of detergents needs to be greater than or equal to twice as many as the fabric softener. And this is noted in answer choice A. Number 15 asks, which of the following is equivalent to A plus B over 2 squared? So whenever we have a binomial squared, what we have to do is multiply it by itself and FOIL. So we're going to have A plus B over 2 times A plus B over 2. So to FOIL, first we do the first ones. A times A will be A squared. Then we do the outside plus AB over 2. Then we do the inside ones plus AB over 2. And then we do the last ones. So B over 2 times B over 2 will be B squared over 4. We can combine these middle two, and that will be just AB. And we'll have A squared plus AB plus B squared over 4, which is answer choice If D. A to the power of B over 4 equals 16 for positive integers A and B, what is one possible value of B? So since A is a positive integer, we can also make it 16. So we'll have 16 to the power of B over 4 equals 16. And when you have just the whole number, that'll be to the power of 1. When we have the same base and exponents equal to each other, we can set the exponents equal to each other. So here we'll have b over 4 equals 1. And to get b by itself, we just have to multiply each side by 4. So we'll get that b equals 4. This is one of the possible values for b. Number 17. What value of t is the solution of the equation above? 2 over 3 times t equals 5 over 2. So in order to get t by itself, we need to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 2 on both sides. On the left side, they're going to cancel, and we will have just t left over equals, on top 5 times 3 is 15, and on the bottom 2 times 2 is 4. So our answer will be t equals 15 over 4. Number 18. In the figure above, line BD is parallel to line AE. What is the length of CE? So in order to find the length of CE, we're going to use proportions. Since this is 6 and this is 8, we can use the Pythagorean triples to know that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And they're multiplying each length by 2. So the hypotenuse is going to be 10. Because this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle that's being multiplied by 2. Now, in order to find what the full length of C to E is, we can set up our proportion. First, we're going to start off with the small triangle, and we're going to start off with the hypotenuse over the height, which will be 10 over 6. And we're going to set this equal to the hypotenuse of the entire big triangle, triangle ACE, and divide it by the height, which we're going to call x over 18. So first, we need to cross multiply in order to solve for x. On the left, we'll have 10 times 18, which is 180. And on the right, we're going to have 6 times x, which is 6x. To get x by itself, we have to divide each side by 6. And we'll get that x equals 30. So therefore, CE has a length of 30. How many liters of a 25% saline solution must be added to 3 liters of a 10% saline solution to obtain a 15% saline solution? So the way that we figure this out is we need to set up an equation to represent the situation. How many liters, x, of a 25% saline solution plus 3 liters of a 10% saline solution will equal a 15% saline solution. So to turn 15% to a decimal, we're going to move the decimal over 2 times to make 0.15, and the total amount of liters will be x plus 3. So on the left side, we're going to have 0.25x plus 3 times 0.1 will be 0.3 equals, and we'll distribute the 0.15, and it'll be 3 times 0.15, which is 0.45 plus 0.15x. So we're going to combine the numbers and the x's. We're going to move the 0.15x to the left side as minus 0.15x. We're going to do that on both sides. And we're also going to move the 0.3 over to the right side by subtracting 0.3. And on the left side, it cancels. So on the left, we'll have 0.25x minus 0.15x, which is 0.1x, equals, and on the right side, 0.45 minus 0.3 is 0.15. And then we're going to divide each side by 0.1. When we divide by 0.1, that's the same as multiplying by 10. So 0.15 times 10 is 1.5. And that is our answer for number 19. Number 20. Points A and B lie on a circle with radius 1, and arc AB has length pi over 3. What fraction of the circumference of the circle is the length of arc AB? So the question is asking what fraction of the circumference of the circle is the length of arc AB. So this means that we need to divide the arc of AB divided by the circumference of the entire circle. So they tell us that the length of arc AB is pi over 3. And now we need to find the circumference of the entire circle. The formula for circumference is 2 times pi times r. And they tell us that the radius is 1. So instead of r, we'll plug in 1. And this will be pi over 3 divided by 2 pi times 1, which is just 2 pi. When we have two fractions dividing, we need to multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom. So it's going to be pi over 3 times 1 over 2 pi. The pi on top cancels with the pi on the bottom, and we're going to get 1 over 6. So the fraction of the circumference to the arc length is 1 to 6.